Rusty Wallace Hyundai. That's where my wife and I bought our new 2025 Santa Fe, and she says it's the best car she's ever had. We couldn't be happier with everything. Their team was great through the whole process, and their service department is top-notch. Check out their new location at 505 Callahan Drive in Knoxville, Tennessee, or at rustywallacehyundai.com.
I think it's the most important skill that a kid can practice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can literally go do it in their driveway.
Of course.
They don't need space to practice juggling.
Well, it's just good for hand-eye coordination. You know, I mean, any type of...
Just don't use your hands,
eye.
remember?
I know.
Yeah.
You got to keep them. Yeah.
T-Rex arm.
Matt and Taryn Bader, founders of the East Tennessee Futbol Club. Do you say football or is it football?
Yes.
So
Both.
how do you guys pronounce it?
Football.
Just football?
The reason we went with the alternative spelling is because we're in the South. And I wanted there to be no mistake that it was a nod to soccer and not American football.
Hold on. How'd you spell it? You spelled it like football, like
It's
NFL,
we did
right?
we did the Spanish FUTBOL.
Oh, it's on his shirt there. Football. Yeah.
Football.
Have you never noticed that?
Never.
Wow.
Is it like that on your website too?
Yeah.
Wait, don't your kids play for them?
Yeah.
They do for years now. All right. You know, I watched a lot of Ted Lasso leading into this. I was ready too. And never did I even catch that.
Well, you know, and I didn't realize it was called football. And here in the South or just anywhere in America, I guess they just call it soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they call it soccer here? And
They actually did call it soccer in the UK. I forget, early mid 1900s. It was an abbreviation. It was like ASOC, and I forget what it stands for, but it was an acronym. And so ASOC turned into soccer, and then, like most things, Americans kept it, and England was like, "We're moving on."
It's
So-
like the metric system.
right, and their accents. So we have the original British accent too.
yes,
We do?
Yes,
We do.
And then they got all snooty falooty and started speaking weird. So
Mhm.
I did not know that.
yeah, no, I got a lot of random facts.
Listen, I
No
love it. I
offense
listen
to
to a lot of
anybody
historical
that's English.
podcasts. So I listen to all that stuff
Yeah.
and hear it. Yeah, we do. So
Okay. Well, I didn't know that. Matt, you apparently knew that. You hear it, don't you?
I hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get the whole story at home.
All right. So tell me a little history on the program. You guys are parents, coaches. You guys do other things as well. This is kind of just a passion or?
Oh, how far back we want to go, right? So when we moved down here, our daughter played for a local club, and there was a great coach, and we ended up following her when she started her organization. And then life circumstances and Tennessee soccer bylaws, I don't know, they're not actual laws, right? You call them regulations,
It's a member services organization that makes up rules,
right?
right? It's kind of like a chamber of commerce.
So there are certain rules that you have to adhere to. And long and short, we ended up stepping into coaching roles so she could train them and that we were all doing things by the book. And then about halfway through three-quarters of the way through the fall
It
season,
was October.
yeah, she decided that she needed a change for personal reasons and family reasons. And so she was going to be relocating up to the Northeast. And at that point, we had seen enough of the local clubs to know that they didn't really have the product we were looking for our kid. And then as in terms of like a culture for youth sports. So it kind of, we felt like the Lord was like, this is an opportunity. And it could, I've always seen soccer as a tool. I grew up playing. It was a huge part of my life. So I think we just felt like saying yes and seeing where it took us. And we wanted the girls to stay together. And we believed that we could have a better product. And we do believe we have a better product. So,
Well, my daughter, I mean, we went through that same thing and we just kind of kept tagging along, but you guys stepped up and kind of took an initiative because if you guys didn't, I don't know where we'd be, probably not playing soccer.
yeah.
But Savannah, we didn't grow up. I don't remember any soccer leagues
no.
anywhere.
I think that growing up, if you played soccer in Knoxville, you were traveling.
Okay.
There was maybe, from what I understand, one or two clubs, and we're talking like, what, 25, 30 years ago?
Yeah.
And if you were playing soccer, you were probably traveling an hour or two just for competition.
I always
frequently.
looked at soccer as like a rich person sport. Like you had to have
Same.
money. Yeah.
Yeah, because even when we lived in North Carolina, I mean, people played football, t-ball. That was what everybody kind of
Mhm.
did, and then the little girls did, youth cheer,
Mhm.
and that was kind of about it.
In theory, it should be the easiest sport to play from a financial standpoint because you literally just need a ball,
Mhm.
right? You need
Right.
nothing else. You can play you can play barefoot, you can play in the street, you can play with your friends, and it doesn't even have to be a soccer ball. It could be a rag ball. You know, kids in European countries play with anything they can find, or South American countries. It's just like, hey, whatever we've got, a soda can, like we're just going to go out and kick it around.
But what was that statistic you saw this morning where it was like the kids playing soccer is the second?
I read this morning. Oh, it was in a YouTube comment, so I don't know how. I can't verify.
If it's on YouTube, it's legit.
But it was-
Right, yeah.
was-
no, it was on the internet.
It was in response to the U.S. men's national team lost to Turkey last night. I mean, I would say expected. And somebody was complaining about like the quality of U.S. soccer. And one person was like, how can you guys have 340 million people and be so bad at soccer? I was like, well, I have a lot of thoughts, but it's like the fourth or fifth most popular sport, but
In
the
America.
second most, like, I don't know how to say it, but the second most number of kids play soccer, like in youth sports. Number one is baseball. So it's very,
Really?
yes. And you, like, what we noticed when we moved here, we were originally from upstate New York, is that Knoxville is baseball football country.
Of
Like,
course.
Oh, yeah.
but in the Northeast, it is soccer country.
Mhm.
And
Really?
when I played
Yeah.
in high school, we were our team was a kind of, I guess, what you would call like a state powerhouse. More people came to the soccer games than went to the football games.
When I lived in Michigan, soccer was huge. The
Mhm.
dentist that I worked for coached at a college. And I mean, soccer was what everybody did, but that's just not what I'm used to. And like what Stephen was saying, anytime as a parent my kids are just now starting to get into sports, anytime you hear club level, that sounds terrifying and expensive to me.
Mhm.
So is that the case? Or
Most times.
most times, yeah.
I mean, our model that we have, we try very hard to make it affordable and accessible because
Mhm.
there's this huge pay to play model in the United States that really
Yes.
is a disservice to kids who have the ability, the
Mhm.
skill, and the drive, but financially, their parents can't afford it. And that's not fair to them.
No.
And I do believe that that's one of the barriers we're seeing with why the United States doesn't put up such great soccer players as other
Mhm.
nations because they've got other things like what do they call them? The academies and stuff in the UK, and they've got programs down in South America that they remove that financial barrier, that financial piece.
I think
So.
that's club sports in general in this country.
Well, sure. It's all pay to play.
Yeah.
But
I'm noticing that with
unfortunately-
everything.
Unfortunately, everything costs money, right? Like
Hmm.
to maintain the fields costs money. To participate in a tournament costs money.
Hmm.
And I could tell you, just from our limited experience in the last year and a half, a tournament could cost up to $1,000 just to enter.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, yeah. So like, we just try to do our best, just kind of like pass on the bare minimum, and there's a little bit of profit that we can utilize and allocate towards like field maintenance and other things, which we've invested a lot in this year.
Yeah.
But fortunately for us, we have like really good families and coaches that believe in the mission and what we're trying to do. And so I don't have to go out and pay a coach $15,000-$20,000 a year to coach a team. And I think that's when you start to see club fees really escalate. It's
think that's
all of the
amazing
other
to
things
hear.
that are included.
Because especially, my kids have never done a club sport. I had no idea what that looks like. But for you all to be kind of taking a different approach to it and making it affordable or a lower cost for parents, that's commendable. That's
When you
amazing.
take that, Savannah, you said your kids don't play club sports,
Mm-mm.
any sports at all, really. They're just getting started. At what point do you start looking at kids? Because they're getting at the ages now, especially my kid, 13, 12.
Yeah.
Like, they've got to have experience. Like, what are you looking for in a child or kid when you're picking players, like during tryouts? I mean, that's got to be the hard part, I imagine. Then we'll get into the parents. What kind of parents are you looking for?
That's
That
a
can be
loaded
make or break.
question.
Right
That's
there.
Oh
the
my
best
gosh.
part. I love sitting on the sidelines and just listening. And
Oh
'cause
yeah, it's a joy.
there may be sports that I get passionate about.
Yeah.
Soccer's not one of them. We didn't play soccer. I don't even know the rules. I mean, I'm
Well-
still learning, you know?
I mean, we talked like a month ago, and I was like, hey, Maddie's pretty good. And you were like, sure. And then I think it was like within the last week or two, you're like, ever since you said something, I started to pay attention. And you're right.
He told me
She's
about it. I
actually
can't
pretty
wait to
good.
come watch her play.
And I was
He's
like,
so good.
she competes with Mila fairly well now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like all of a sudden we were watching tryouts Thursday last week. And I was like, whoa, like not only defensively, but technically
Mhm.
in a very like offensive minded state. She's quite competent.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. She's sneaky. She got good fast.
Oh, I'm proud of her. I mean, and I had no idea. Like I said, I'm just a guy that shows up, supports them, tells them good job on the way home. Like, I don't know what happened. You know?
But I think that's a huge part of any sport. If you're going to have your kid in it and they're going to be passionate, you have to have a parent that's willing to do what it takes.
For sure. Yeah, I think in terms of like what we look for in kiddos, my preference, especially with the little kids, I hate, that's a really strong word. It's hard to have a raw player at like 12, 13, 14. So someone who thinks, oh, this could be fun. I think I'll pick this up.
Right.
That's really hard at that age. It's easier at the U9, definitely easiest at U8. With the youngest boys and girls teams that we have, we can get away with a raw player because there's a lot of technical development that's going to go into the first few years of their development anyways. So in that regard, I'm looking for speed, right? I'm looking for coordination because our opinion is soccer is not an easy sport. We think it's one of the hardest sports because baseball, right? Think of our survival things like we're throwing, we're catching, we're chopping, right? Those are normal things. About the only time you're probably going to kick something is if you're being attacked by a rooster. So,
Amen to
you
that.
know?
Yes.
So it's not easy. So I'm looking for coordination, but also they need to have, because I don't teach tactical to my little ones. I don't think it's necessary.
When you say tactical, what are you talking
Like
about?
game awareness.
Okay.
So we're teaching just foundational technical skills because if they can control the ball and they can pass the ball and complete passes, you can teach tactical all day long, like how to play the game. But if your players can't actually possess the ball and pass it and make a pass or trap a ball out of the air, it doesn't matter how soccer smart they are if they can't do those foundational things.
So she's also a physical therapist.
Okay. This is making a whole lot more sense. I'm
Yeah.
like,
So when she
Man,
was
we're-
talking about coordination and like,
yes.
I can look at some kids and think, man, that's an athlete. But I'm sure you're like diagnosing their gait, the way they walk, the way they run,
Yeah.
like to a
It's
whole new
a-
level.
That's
It's a-
incredible.
Everywhere we go. It's a lot better than it used to be. But there
Yeah.
was a point in time where she would tell me, oh, that person has XYZ. Look at the way they walk.
Right. I always check my pelvic tilt when I'm standing. I'm like, oh, I know. I'm
Man, I'm going to be a lot more self-conscious walking you all out when we
I
leave.
mean,
Uh,
to her credit, it is very nice to have that level of like person in the club because there are a lot of
absolutely.
kids.
How many
that need
people
help.
can you say that as a founder of a soccer club that has your position that can do those things? Probably none.
not too many.
That's incredible.
Most of the club soccer like directors are just soccer players.
yeah.
Yeah.
Parents. Somebody
Right?
that just had some.
or somebody who played competitively in college that
That's incredible.
had an opportunity to coach and now is a director at a local club. Like it's very rare. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I made a list of things, and I know nothing about soccer, but when you're talking about athletes, I think as parents, as former athletes, most of us know, but attitude was a big one. Like, geez, just a kid's attitude, the way they show up to practice, the demeanor they have, the way they talk to their parents, all that stuff's got to be reflected on the field, right?
Yeah, and I think we can fix that. Like
Yeah.
we can address that as coaches.
Do you do summer camps for kids?
We do. We do. Yeah.
Boot camp.
Just attitude boot camp.
Yes.
I as a coach, especially with the girls, because the girls are they're starting to hit puberty. Some of them have already.
What age do you coach most of the time?
2013 girls, so they're
Yeah,
U12
you couldn't pay
right
me.
now. U13. It's been a challenge. Like I've had to learn to be incredibly positive.
Which is not his
No.
MO.
And if I say, I could give 50 compliments to a player. If I give one criticism, that's what they hang on to.
Mhm.
Of course.
And I'm still not great at it. But I do demand a certain level of respect. Like when you're at practice, we're as focused as we can be. And I have to have certain expectations that 11, 12, 13-year-old girls are going to talk about what happened at school today.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to, at this age, they seem to be talking about boys. Right. And we do offer a little bit of freedom and grace to do those things because I think it's important for them to have fun, to want to be around their friends and to want to be at practice. But when I'm talking, I expect people to listen. Doesn't work all the time. When I give direction, I expect you to follow it. And I think that having that level of expectation on the field does spill over into other parts of life. And a big part of the message, what we're trying to accomplish is to give players, and I would say girls especially, because that's kind of the teams, most of the teams that we have right now, is the ability to be like confident, self-advocate. And so we're constantly trying to work on those things. I think that what we're trying to develop is more important than just creating good soccer players.
If you look at like positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, sometimes if you do enough negative reinforcement, the lack of negative can be a positive, right?
Oh.
At least in the dog training world, that's the way we looked at
That's
it.
one way to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like the opposite with you.
I think
Like
you're
all
talking about
positive.
I think you're talking about boys teams and girls teams.
Right.
For sure. I mean,
Yeah.
because my boys, I can be pretty critical of them. I can look at them and be like, "Hey, you're acting like a bunch of boneheads.
Right. And they
Knock it off." And they're
they
like,
acted
"Oh, okay." And so I actually had to run a practice for Matt while he was out of town. And I had been wanting to work with the girls just because skill level, they're obviously so much more skilled than my little boys.
Yeah.
But I did that one practice and I thought, get me back with my little yahoos. Because
what
these
age
girls,
are your boys that you play with?
so we're going into U10. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's go back to the player tryouts just a little bit. If
Mhm.
you're talking about like soccer IQ, is that very important? I know it is with 12 and 13-year-old girls, right? It'd be hard to walk off the street and decide, hey, I'm going to play soccer at 13. At the club level, I would imagine.
I've done quite a bit of research on this recently, and we're trying to develop like a program that we can give to the players and the parents, because there's a lot of parents like yourself that they don't know, like, hey, my kid wants to go out and play in the backyard. I have no idea what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of clubs out there that aren't doing that. Most of the clubs, they're just telling the families, hey, like you should go hire a personal trainer. Like you should go hire a private trainer. Spend another $500 a month because that's what it takes to be competitive. But I forgot the question. I had a good thought.
Well-
how important is soccer IQ?
So I don't think it's that important until they're 14 or 15 years
Right.
old.
That's kind of good to know because my girls they're just now getting not even really motivated, I'm going to be honest, but they're getting to where they are interested in new sports, but there's so many things that's kind of intimidating because all their friends have played for all these years.
Mhm.
And like you're saying, there's not really an option for them to even go try that unless you hired a personal trainer like that. I mean,
It's a very lucrative business.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what your kids did with volleyball, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter decided she wanted to play volleyball for the middle school this year.
Mhm.
We had no idea. So what do? We found a place, drove her to Louisville, and you pay X amount of dollars and you get 4 practices and this and that. But it worked. She made the team.
Mhm.
So I would have done that all over again just because she was actually interested in something and wanted to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like when it comes to soccer, because it's such a unique skill,
Yeah, that's a lot.
I think that the kids need to be technically proficient by the time they're 11. So technically it would be like really sound with the ball at their feet. They can dribble really well. They can trap a ball. And then once they hit puberty, you're just reinforcing
Yeah.
those foundations that you've created for several years because their bodies are changing. And you're just like most players, right? In any sport, you're just trying to create like automatic processes. So when they're
Mhm.
playing in a game, they just do it. And I think that's the tricky part with youth soccer is that if you play for a club or you have a coach or a trainer who's helped you develop those skills, by the time you're 11 or 12, like there's a lot of kids that can't keep up. And
Yeah.
like the gap can widen very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I would say like for any parent or player, like it's good to find a coach that focuses on those things when they're young, because by the time, like I said, when they're 14, 15, they'll figure out the tactics piece, but they have to be fundamentally good. And when we played 2 weeks ago, right? We went to state. We weren't State Cup. We weren't stronger. We weren't bigger. We weren't faster. We were just a little more technical than the teams. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's got to stand for something, being such a young program going to State Cup and winning, right?
I think
We would like to think so.
I think it's pretty impressive. Well,
I thought it was.
didn't realize soccer is, I mean, it's not just running and kicking the ball. You've got to have that stamina, the coordination.
Running, kicking the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. You can't use your hands. I mean, it's one of those, like, you automatically, something flies at you. You want to use your hands to stop it. So it's a whole
Did you even watch Ted Lasso going into this?
I did.
I told her to watch it.
I've watched it before, and it was really good.
Yeah. Well, have you guys heard of like companies doing personality hires? Like
Yeah.
you might not be
Yeah.
great at your job, but you're good to be around. We kind of like you. You bring a good personality. You got a lot of heart.
Mm-hmm.
Do we do those on the soccer team? Like you got to bring in good people that bring in good vibes and try hard, and even if they might not be great, and not you personally, but like as a program, I think it would probably be important, right?
I think we're still learning. I guess that's how I would answer
Yeah.
that question. Like
Yeah.
you definitely need families who are bought into the philosophy, right?
Mhm.
It's like I said earlier, it's not just soccer, right? There's a Christian component to it. We pray before games. People have to be
That's
comfortable
awesome.
with that.
We didn't even mention that. You want to go in detail on that?
You don't see that very often with sports, so I love that.
I think people are pushing away from it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Taryn said at the beginning, when we started the club, we felt led to start it, and it was probably 3 or 4 years ago when we moved to New York State that we like freely just opened ourselves to whatever God's plans were.
Mm-hmm.
And the move to Tennessee was, we would call, spirit led. Taryn says it was faith and freedom because we lived in New York, right? But so for us, it's like, can you create a ministry out of soccer, or can you at least disciple kids who might not hear the message of Christ? And that's really kind of what the catalyst was. I think that's the right way to say it. So we pray before games. We do character building. We've done some team bonding sessions that Taryn has run that are like focused on like a particular verse or a message. And I think this fall she's planning on having like a season message. I don't know exactly.
I can give you the gist of it. So essentially,
If you want.
David he's lamenting his situation. He's on the run from Saul, and he's in this verse, this chapter of Psalms. He is lamenting the struggles of all that. And then, true to David's form at the end, he's just all praise God. So it really is the theme of like overcoming adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Can you have the faith to pursue the problem in front of you and know in your heart of hearts that God's got you?
Mm-hmm.
That you don't have to worry about this. Yeah, it's going to be tough because listen, living as a Christian is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons, like Matt said, we moved is because I wanted it to be less of an exception for our kids to grow up this way. And like being in the South, there are cultural Christians and there are different struggles and hurdles y'all deal with down here, right? It's not as overt of an aversion like we dealt with in New York.
We do it in a nicer way.
Right, right. Yeah. A little more covert.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, and it's not usually easy to go against the current. And so how can we integrate that into sports and communicate that in a way that is palatable to kids? And if we say it enough times, maybe it sticks and maybe they start to believe it.
Have you seen any pushback yet with parents coming into the program not wanting
No.
to do that?
No.
I was curious.
I mean,
see.
we're just trying to change one kid's life. Like that's
Mhm.
it.
Right.
Like that's the goal. And if you can impact 15, 20, 30 kids, that's great. But if we can just have one positive impact, I think that's
I think that's amazing. Obviously, we didn't grow up Christians, so having a sport available that we could have participated in, where we could have seen and heard those things, would have been amazing.
Yeah.
I think that one of the benefits, and we're still trying to work through all this, is that a lot of the other clubs in the area are promoting success in more I don't know, American standard cultural terms, right? Success is playing in college, right? Success is playing at the highest level. And our view is much different. And we want to promote community, and having a group of not just players on one team, but the whole club, the whole organization, where people just feel accepted and welcome. And that has its side benefits, which is hopefully nobody leaves, right? Because the club has to be self-sustaining in some way to be able to provide this opportunity to the community. I think we'll probably have 65 to 70 kids that are committed to the club in some level between the fall and spring of next year. And we need to be able to provide that. And so we can provide non-tangible benefits, you could say, that the other clubs maybe aren't considering, because they're so focused on, hey, we're playing in the highest league, we're traveling the most, and that doesn't always necessarily translate to what we would define as success
or quality.
Yes.
Now, are you all a 501c3?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's nice.
Yeah, it's actually really nice. So let's move on. We talked about players. Let's talk about parents. And there's two extremes that we'll talk about first. Obviously, you've got me that I know nothing.
I thought you were going to say you were like an awesome parent and, we'll do stuff.
Well, we can go with that, but I know nothing about soccer, which is probably a negative in some aspects, because I don't have the buy-in as much as some of the other parents, right? Or I think so. Or then you've got the other side that grew up playing soccer, that knows soccer, that has high level of expectations from you guys in the programs, and they have, I guess, really detailed aspects and expectations of their child in your program. What does that look like for you guys?
I think the easiest and best personality, it's not a matter of how much they know about the sport. It's, can you be objective about your child?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Can you be humble to maybe step back and say, I maybe don't have the most objective view of my kid, but you as a third party maybe do see some things that I don't, or maybe I can trust you to have done the research and to know what you're doing. That I would say is more meaningful and a better culture for the club.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's with
knowledge.
school and anywhere. That's the same
Right.
expectations we have for teachers. And my kid's never wrong. She's never cheated. She's never gotten in trouble.
It's hard as a mama bear. You don't want to hear bad things about your child, but I'm one of those objective parents that, my kid is not perfect. I totally get that, but you don't see that a lot.
No, it's not easy.
Every parent wants what's best for their kid.
Right.
Of course.
And we can't fault them for that.
And some parents may define that differently.
Yeah. I think as a parent, though, we got to pick the program, pick the people to put them with, and have faith in you guys to do that, right?
Right.
Yeah, I prefer parents that are just willing to have a dialogue. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. I probably reach out to people more proactively than I maybe have time to.
He's a chatty Cathy.
But but I just want an open dialogue with parents. To Taryn's point, objectivity is good, but if you have concerns, can you bring them to me? Can we talk? Do you
see a lot of from a parent standpoint of, well, my kid should be playing more. Why is my kid not getting more field time? Why is my kid not doing, this or that? I'm here for them to play. How do you see a lot of that, or it just kind of works itself out?
Yeah, I think they even see a different side too. So they have a kid that plays on a couple of the teams. So then you throw that whole aspect into it of how do you manage? Because, man, it's hard. You just never let your kid play. Do you never let them do things that they deserve to do because you're always fighting those battles? And I don't know what battles you fight. I've not talked to you about that. But I imagine as a parent and a coach, that's got to be nonstop.
It can be exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And still try to be fair to your own kid.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest part because your kid is working just as hard as the other kids and
Yes.
deserves just as much as the other kids,
Mhm.
but they're going to be looked at like you're only getting that because you're the coach's kid.
Yeah.
And that
Fortunately,
would
our
be
daughter's
super hard.
decent. So
She's great.
That
She's not
helps.
just decent. Yeah.
we try to be objective and we push her pretty hard.
Yeah.
But that makes life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I think it's all tough. Like you're just trying to balance different personalities. It's like managing a day-to-day job. It's like, managing an office. Maybe you're managing a staff of 500 people. Like you're just juggling different people, different personalities, different expectations. And I think like I describe it to people this way, like I'm in real estate, right? And if I am and my partner are raising money to buy an asset, a building, we're raising money from a bunch of different people and they have expectations on what that return should look like.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to do what's in my best, like my best ability to deliver on that expectation. And for us, it's like I said, every parent has a different expectation. Some are the same. One parent might just want their kid to have fun.
Mhm.
Maybe they got burnt out and they were playing at an elite club and they were crying every day after games and they were just so frustrated with the experience and they just want their kids to have fun. Okay, like that's something that we can work through. Some
That's-
players might want some parents may want their player to score the most goals. Like maybe they scored, 20 goals a season when they were little and now they're not scoring at all. It's like, how do we get there? Well, the game's a lot different, right? We can educate you on that. But that's the tricky part is just balancing expectations when parents are like most concerned. If you think about it, their most valuable asset, which is their children.
And they're emotionally invested.
Yeah. I made a list of what I thought would be important. Positive and supportive, focus on effort and development, respectful of the coaches and officials, good role models, avoid micromanaging, encourage a growth mindset, prioritize the child's well-being, avoid negative comments, and communicate with the coaches privately.
Yes.
Did I miss a whole lot there? Or?
No. I tell you one thing that I really love. I love a parent that will come to me and say, "Hey, you can ride my kid as much as you want." Like,
Yeah.
like and I have some parents that are like, my child is capable of taking a lot of abuse. Like you push my child
Feedback.
as much as you can. And sometimes you take it too far. Hey, you really didn't play well. But
Yeah.
that's super supportive. Steve's that way, right? Like he admits openly, I don't know anything about soccer.
Yeah.
You can do what you need to do with my kid to make sure that you get the best out of them. That makes life really easy.
But luckily, she doesn't come to me and say like, "Oh, Matt did this. Matt's a terrible coach." And if you started getting these negative comments, then it'd be hard for me to be like, "Well, man, I don't know anything about it."
Sure.
I mean, do I just take her word for it, or do I have conversations with Matt?
Right.
But luckily, she doesn't do that. She talks about how great you guys are. She likes all the kids she plays with, and it's a social aspect, like you talked about. I mean, they're talking drama,
You used this phrase like a year ago when we were talking, and I use it all the time when I'm talking to people now. Is that she accidentally got good at soccer?
Right.
Like, yeah,
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Is that she accidentally got good. Because Steven has done nothing but sing your all's praises the entire time that his girls have been in your all's program. It has been how amazing you all are and how incredible his girls have just flourished. So I think that is a huge compliment.
Yeah, with Mila in basketball, like I joke, like, "Oh, that's because I taught her that. I taught her that," or "She didn't learn that at practice. I taught her that." Soccer, no, that's all you guys.
Yeah,
Anything they get is from y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're good. They're good athletes.
They are good athletes.
They are just those, and I joke about my girls, but like looking at his girls, they're just athletic girls. You can look at kids and they're just athletically built.
Mhm.
I didn't get that gene, and that's okay. They just didn't get that. But, some kids have it.
They
some
bring a
don't.
lot to the table.
I'll say this, like with probably girls more so than boys, and Taryn's welcome to correct me. I don't think you have to be super athletic to be good at soccer, right? If you can master the touch and the ball, and your soccer IQ is really high, meaning like
Yeah.
you know how to sense pressure and move away from it, you're probably going to have some success, depending on how you define that. You're probably going to be pretty good. Like you may not play professional soccer, but you're probably going to be good. I think that soccer is like a sport. Is a skill sport.
Yeah.
You have to be, and if you are super proficient, meaning like your touch is outstanding, you can juggle with your feet only 500 times, you're going to be good.
Did you say 500 times?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Jeez. What are the girls like that you coach? What are they doing now?
It varies. We have a handful of girls that are able to juggle over 100 times now. I think
That's crazy.
most of them
100.
are over like 15.
What are my kids, like 10? Are they
I
getting
have no
10?
idea.
They don't practice. I mean, I know they should, but like they're not at that level. But man, it really shines whenever they do good.
I think Maddie's definitely over 10.
Okay.
Mhm.
I don't know about Mila.
Probably not.
I think that like a good goal for the, I guess, upcoming U13 girls would
Yeah.
be that every girl by the end of the fall season should be able to juggle 30 times.
I didn't realize where they're at until you're talking about 100. Like they're way off.
I know. Have you ever tried it? Steven is one of those that he just wants to try it and see, and he ends up being good at stuff.
I've
So I'm
never tried
curious to
anything with
see.
soccer. No.
Hmm.
I tried hacky sack for a while in high school or something, you know?
So that when you get to, I think that's what it is. Like once you get to, is it 1,000 with the soccer ball? They make you do it with a tennis ball.
That's
1,000?
that's
Seriously?
my
elite,
curriculum.
right?
What was that
Can
movie?
you do that?
No,
What was that movie? She's All That?
Yeah.
Oh.
Where he shows
Amanda
up the
Bynes?
Yeah, everybody bought a hacky sack after that, you know?
Of course.
Uh,
That's
I
awesome.
think it's the most important skill that a kid can practice. I
Mhm.
mean, they can literally go do it in their driveway.
Of course.
They don't need space to practice juggling.
Well, it's just
and-
good for hand-eye coordination. You know, I mean, any type of.
Just
Foot-
don't use
foot-
your
foot
hands.
eye.
Remember?
Foot eye.
No,
Yeah.
you got to keep them. Yeah.
T-Rex arms.
All right. So from your website, I stole it. It says desires to bring glory to God through sport.
Mhm.
That's what we talked about. I think that's awesome.
We've picked up some really talented players over the last year, and even this fall, you'll get to see them playing with Mila in the fall. There's a couple of girls that one of them's outstanding, and that's a big part of it. They're just like, we were unhappy with the culture of the previous
Mhm.
club that we were playing with. We recognize that there's a different path to maybe collegiate soccer, for example, if that's what you're interested in. And we want a good, wholesome environment for our kid to just grow and develop in.
So how big can this program grow? What's your expectations?
We've got 5 teams going into this next season. And I think at this point, we want to hold steady. So, if we make a mistake, we're making it with 1 to 2 children. We're not affecting tens of children.
Right. I got you.
And, we don't want to scale so quickly that we don't have either the infrastructure or the ability or even the know-how to do that well.
Of course, that's the recipe to fail if you're not careful.
Right. So at this point, I think short term, our plan is to keep those 5 teams, really hone in on them. And our philosophy has been like, we need to find a coach first. So we find a coach that knows what they're doing, is willing to do this basically pro bono, and is good at it, but also, we want them to be bought into the philosophy and giving glory to God through sport. We don't want somebody who's going to scream at children on the sideline.
I've never seen that happen.
I know, right?
Some of the stuff I heard coaches yelling at
Oh my
girls at State
gosh.
Cup,
Oh man.
calling them lazy. This was like teams that we were playing against.
So we're recording all those now too, right? Like
Yeah.
all that shows
You
up.
can hear it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
11-year-old girl, you're being lazy. Like if you don't pick it up, you're going to sit the rest of the game.
Yep.
And I'm
Heard it on
thinking
the
about
tangent field.
we have to take what's called safe sport training. I don't know if
Yeah,
all sports have to do that.
So
Yeah.
my girls go to a Christian academy, and for me to be a team parent, I had to do safe sport.
Verbal abuse right there.
It's a big one.
Right? Like,
But
yeah.
you know what? Just because you took the test doesn't mean that
Right.
people are going to do what they want
Knowledge
to
and
do.
application, 2 different things.
Exactly.
I think just to like piggyback on what Taryn's saying, like we have 5 who I believe are like very good coaches. They're bought into the philosophy. They have a ton of experience. Maybe they played, club soccer their whole life. Maybe they played Division I college soccer, right? Like we have some really qualified coaches. And I think like it's really important to have good coaches. Like, I think the coach is the most important part
Mhm.
of the child's development, not only like technically and tactically, but keeping that player happy and engaged and interested. And you'll find in all club sports, regardless of what it is, that like they'll if the club has 50 kids show up, they'll be like, oh my gosh, we've got to get 3 coaches, and they may
Right.
have 1 or 2 already established and have been with the program, but there's like 15 kids that are like that don't have a team because they weren't good enough to make the first or second team. Oh, we got to find a parent. Like, somebody will do it. We'll find a parent.
Wow, yeah.
And I think that's
because it's for their bottom
a
line.
disadvantage to the players. And so that's what she's saying is like, you really need to have good coaches that are committed. They're not going to coach and then leave in 6 months, or they believe in the
Club
mission,
hop.
and they'll buy into the coaching philosophy, because nobody teaches technical the way we do. And you lose a lot of games when you're focusing on fundamentals.
Oh,
The girls,
man, you can see it
the
too.
U12, like our girls team, they lost a lot. Like, when Quinn was playing for that other club, I think they won 1 game all season. And Maddie helped in a tournament, right? We played in the Oak Ridge tournament. I don't think we won. I don't think we won a single game. That was
Well, my boys' team, they haven't.
spring 2023, maybe.
Yeah, my boys' team hasn't won a whole lot, but if you look at their technical abilities on the field in comparison, by and large, the teams we're losing to, they've got 1 or 2 ringers who can really whack a ball, and they're goal hungry. Like, I'm not poo-pooing these little kids because they're good little players,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got the next best 5 on the field, and my kids actually know how to move the ball, and they're picking their head up, and I've got my kids, we give space for the kids to be creative too. Like, there are a lot of clubs out there that teach a system, and it's kind of like if then on the field for tactics,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
I don't do that. We don't teach tactics. It's like, in this situation, you really should be doing that. Like, I mean, make a wall for the love, please. Like, in that regard, yes, we're teaching
Yeah.
that, but we're not. We give them the freedom to make choices on the field because the game is the teacher. That is how they learn how to play. They're not going to learn how to play if they have set plays all over the field.
Well, they might win now, but long term, it's not going to
Correct.
benefit them.
And
Yeah.
those are the
That's
teams
what
that are
we're
winning
seeing.
now.
Yeah.
You have a ringer and you play a system.
Yep.
But eventually, those kids, they're not developing technically. So once the field gets bigger, their passes are not accurate if they're even passing.
Mm-hmm.
So
It
it's
does them a disservice in the long run.
absolutely.
If you think about it, like, think about all of the other sports that kids are playing right now, youth sports. I'll probably not include like some of the girls' sports, like cheerleading and dance and things
Yeah,
like
of
that in
course.
that.
Real
but
sports.
No, I didn't say that. I support Maddie's desire to cheer. Like baseball, football, basketball. How frequently do those players have touch points with their coaches in a game? Often,
Mhm.
maybe every minute. You don't have that in soccer. Like, if you're a player that doesn't get substituted, depending on the age, you could be playing at U10, 25 minutes.
Some
up to
stamina.
U17, 18, you're playing 45-minute halves. You don't have the coach telling you what to do. Like, you may hear the coach giving a little bit of direction on the sideline. You have to learn to make those
Mhm.
decisions on your own. It's like the only sport I can think of that's really like that. And so it's painful to watch the kids at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old make the same mistake over and over and over again. And you're
And
like,
they
my
do.
goodness. Right?
Yeah.
And you bring them off and you say, hey, listen, we talked about this. This is what I want you to do in this situation. They go back on, they do it again.
Mhm.
They do it again. Eventually they figure it out themselves, and then they become really effective and dangerous. And so it's really hard, I think, as a parent and a coach to watch the kids fail over and over and over again and lose game after game after game. But then it all starts to click,
Mhm.
and then it happens fast.
It's when they accidentally get good at soccer.
Right.
It happens
Right.
it happens really
But this
fast.
system requires that the parents trust the process.
Mhm.
Because we're not talking, okay, this is a fall season and then spring season, we're going to wreck everybody. This is a 2 to 3 to 4 year process.
And we're already starting to see it with the 13s.
Right. And that's what I try to tell our little boys is like,
Yeah.
stick with me, please. Like, we know what we're doing.
Mhm.
It's going to be ugly. But eventually, like Matt said, it's going to click and they're going to be good.
If you go watch the footage from the 13s, like, you will see the teams that we're playing are generally bigger, stronger, faster. We were probably the second smallest team in the division out of 11 teams from Nashville and Knoxville. But you can look at highlights. We're beating players 1v1 all over the field.
Man, they just like pile up in front of the goal and wait on the ball, and we're actually doing technical things.
Yeah.
I know nothing about soccer, but I can see that.
We'll beat players all over the place, and no other team is doing that. If we get scored on, it's because we whiffed a trap, like we didn't communicate, we made a mistake. But we're creating opportunities. We may only score 1 or 2 goals a game. There's been plenty of games this year where we should have scored 15. I mean, like we just had 30 shots on goal at the goal.
I was going to say one we had a ton of them.
It's like, guys, but yeah, it just takes time to develop it, and then you start to see it, and you're like, oh, okay. Like in our first state cup game, we were out hustled for the first 45 minutes, and then I think we're a little bit more disciplined. We weren't running all over the field. We were holding our positions. We're just a little bit better fundamentally. The last 10 minutes of the game, we completely dominated.
Oh man, yeah. And you talking about how long the game was, Savannah? That's a half. What does Milo play? 35-minute halves?
I think 35s now.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, going into basketball season, dude, these other girls are coming in smoked.
Yeah.
And she's just running along, sprinting. She never gets out of breath.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah.
The conditioning is unreal.
Great amount of fitness. I don't know how many.
Well,
how
they
much hard does
say,
a player run in
like,
a game?
So I played outside midi, and in college it's 45-minute halves. So somebody calculated somewhere it's 5 to 7 miles a game.
Oh man,
I would never run 5 to 7 miles on my own, but you put a ball and a player all day.
When we had
That's
we had a parent player event, and it was like there was like 150 people there. And we played the 13s, and one of the parents had a smartwatch on. He was tracking his steps. 5K.
That was 25 minutes.
25 minutes.
Okay, if y'all do one of those, I want to come on as like the girl's aunt, and I want to try this. I want to play.
It's
I'm
fun.
going to keep my hands behind my back.
that's like an 8-minute mile, right?
Yeah.
I mean, give or take.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was unbelievable.
He was playing
like,
outside mid.
He's like, I try to run a 5K a couple times a week, and I did that today. And I was like, oh,
that's awesome.
That's why I sat up top the whole time, because I was not running that much.
Just put me in as goalie.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, this is Pastor Corey. Would love for you to go check out our podcast, the Just Jesus Podcast. And if also you would like to go on our website, justjesusnow.com, you can check out some of our church services and some of our merch. Be blessed.
So we had tryouts, last week and the week before?
Yeah.
So what does it look like now? Can a player come on if they want to, or is it just a hard cut off?
Yeah. So, I mean, Tennessee state soccer rules are fairly strict, and I would say certainly more strict than some of the other states where I have friends that play. Essentially, there's like an open period for most players where they can determine if they what club they want to go play for. They could try out for multiple clubs. They have once, I guess, June 16th hits. June 16th is like the lock-in date. So if you've signed a commitment with a club at that point in time, you can't leave. Now, as a parent, you can go to the club if you're unhappy, and you can say, hey, we'd like to be released. We'd like to go play somewhere else. The tricky part is that you have to make sure your dues are paid. So a lot of parents end up getting financially.
We lost a tile. It's okay now.
Yeah.
They end up like being financially bound. So it's literally an 11-month financial commitment. It's I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but
Of course. So if you've never been locked into a team, you can come on anytime.
yeah. You could come
Okay.
on, like, especially with high school players. A lot of high school girls. So I guess it would be like 2015. No, 2010 birth year and above or below. How would you say that?
And older.
Yes, and
2010
older.
Yeah.
They may not try out for a club, and they may just go play high school. And then there's a tryout period. Like I think it's towards the end of November, and you could come play for that team. So as long as you're not previously committed to another organization.
Okay,
You
so
can
that's the ticket.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you guys got?
I have one thing I want to talk about.
You take it, man.
Okay.
It's all
I
yours.
have like a strong opinion on this. I think that, like, we've talked a lot about this. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on like the path to, we'll define success as like a highly competitive player that's playing in college, right? I have a very and I've talked to some parents about this. I have a view on what that path, what the best path is. I think there's lots of paths to get there. I think you can put your kid in one of the top programs in the area. You can spend probably $8,000 to $10,000 a year, including travel and all the other costs, right? To play club soccer and increase the likelihood that you could go play at Division I or Division II. I think, I'm interested again to hear your opinions. I think the junior college route is one of the best routes, especially in the state of Tennessee, where you get free tuition, I think, as long as you graduate,
First 2 years.
right, for the first 2 years. And I actually did a little bit of research this morning and wrote down a couple examples of players that have done that, which I can share. But I'm curious, do you guys have thoughts on long-term developmentally? Because every player develops differently. I think most times they develop slower than a lot of the other players. What do you think that looks like?
Man, you really catch me off guard there. Usually I'm the one prepared, Matt. I think for me, looking at my kids,
Yeah.
I monitor success season by season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they having fun? Are they learning?
Yeah.
Are they increasing something somewhere within the sport?
Mhm.
And as long as I'm checking all those boxes, that's a win.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate college playing at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if it happens, that's awesome. But I don't think that's my goal for them.
Yeah.
One, I think it's hard.
Yes.
And the expectation's even harder.
Mhm.
I've kicked a new thing here recently that I think school's good, grades are great, but socially developing is more important than grades alone. I think as long as you're going to school, you're building those relationships, you're building friends, you're building those networks. That's what's going to catch you in the long run as a human, right? In adulthood, is being able to do those things. But if you're talking soccer specifically, any sports for me, as long as they're having fun, I'm really good.
Yeah, I think that aligns with our philosophy, right? We want to build kids who are well adapted to function in society.
That's
and
it.
The world today is a crazy place. But for those kids that I think want to achieve a higher level of play, if you're prioritizing good quality coaching, good fundamental development, and fun, that I think that giving the kid the ability to kind of take a micro step into community college is a really good path. And I think that there's a lot of kids out there that you'll talk to and they'll say, "Hey, what do you want to do? And what do you want to be when you grow up?" "I want to be a professional soccer player." Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that level of success, if that dream is real, right? Because I think you could probably do some research that the people that make it, they have some form of trauma in their life. Maybe they grew up in a home, they grew up in poverty, right? They are motivated to go out,
overcomers,
right,
Mhm.
and
Eye of the tiger,
achieve
right?
Yeah.
something so that they can leave whatever situation they were in. But what I would encourage people, I don't know how many people you have that listen to this, is consider those things, because I think that the mental health of the child, the fundamental development, the technical skills are so much more important. And if a player really wants to say, if you as a parent or your player wants to play Division I think that steady growth through JUCO is a really good path for players.
It is so refreshing to hear a coach say that, because you typically, you just don't hear that very often. You hear they push for D1, be the best, do this, do that. But to not make a community college step feel lesser than is incredible.
I think no matter how it goes, junior college is going to be our steps.
Yes.
Regardless
in our
of
state, why would we not take advantage of a
Yeah.
free 2 years? So many kids take on all this college debt.
Right.
And do that, because not all kids are going to get scholarships. Not all kids are going to do that. And if you have that available, why not take it? Don't let it feel like you're settling.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
that stigma though.
Yes.
Yeah. And Maddie, I mean, Chuck's talking about her and you're talking about your social aspects there at practice, letting them socialize and gossip and do the things that girls do when they're that age. But Maddie's made some good friends there, people she talks to, people she's probably going to talk to for her whole teenage years, I imagine. That's awesome.
Yeah. Statistically, less than 2% of all high school athletes get a Division I or Division II college scholarship. And I there was the U.S. men played Turkey last night. I mentioned that previously. There was a guy that started at forward. His name is Patrick Ajiman. He's not like really high in the depth chart, but a lot of the really talented U.S. men's players are taking breaks. They've been playing club soccer in Europe for, almost a year, and they're just resting. He started in Division III. Like, what a crazy success story, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's not the best finisher. Like, he has a lot of work to do, but he's a big guy, strong. And to say that, I played Division III, I think he played in Connecticut, and now I've had multiple opportunities to start and play for the U.S. men's national team. And the other one that I want to reference, because I bring this up in conversation a lot, and most people that live in Knoxville know Dalton Connect, right? Like, that guy, he played NCAA basketball for UT. I got notes here. Hold on.
I got nothing. I don't know.
That's okay. He played high school basketball. He went and he played junior college. He played 2 years at Northeastern Junior College. He scored 13.3. He averaged 13.3 points per game his freshman year, close to 24 points per game his sophomore year. Then he went to Northern Colorado, played 2 years there, had a 5th year of eligibility, so he transferred to UT. He averages 21.7 points per game at UT and has multiple 30-point plus games. Now he plays for the Lakers. And I think there's I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. There's a psychological component that comes with these like little micro steps that these kids go through, where you can be like, oh, I was a leader on my club team. And then I learned how to be a leader on my high school team. And then I learned how to be a leader at junior college. And then all of a sudden, each transition becomes easier. And I think that, like, as a parent, like, I just want my kid to take those little micro steps, like learning how to have success at at whatever the next level of competitiveness is, as opposed to going from high school right to Division I. And in a lot of instances, not all, like, that player may redshirt. So the kid that went and played at junior college played every minute their freshman year, every minute their sophomore year. Whereas maybe a friend or a teammate at a former club or in high school redshirted their freshman year, didn't play much, right? And then maybe they did redshirt, or how many can you redshirt just once? I have no idea.
What's a red shirt?
But then you play
You
sophomore
didn't play
year.
enough so that you maintain a year of eligibility to play.
Okay.
You didn't
Basically,
play enough
like,
games.
you train.
I've always heard a redshirt freshman, but I hadn't heard.
And then
anything
maybe
else.
sophomore year you play a
Yeah.
couple of games,
Mhm.
play it 200 minutes. It's something that I'm like really sensitive to, and I think very passionate about. Is like, I think that the kids need to develop at an appropriate pace. There's certainly kids out there that are in the top 1% that are mentally and physically capable of going to the highest level and just grinding every day. But my feeling and my experience with the girls and a lot of the kids in the club is 98, 99% of those kids aren't capable of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so slow, steady progress, I think, gets them to the level that they might hope to achieve someday, as opposed to burning them out or something like that.
And also, like, to piggyback on your comment about the social aspect of things, some things I tell new club, so usually the youngins,
Yeah.
the youngins,
Mhm.
You're
Youngins.
getting
the
it.
youngins, is that same statistic. So, like, less than 2% of these kids, and I mean in the nation, are going to make it to D1. And a lot of parents have a lot of hopes and aspirations for their
course.
kids, and that's cool. I tend to, like, step back from that. I already lived my life. I don't need to live another one through you. Like, I'm just here to guide you. But all that to say, I tell them the character building is really the focus, because what's the percentage and what's the likelihood that after college, even if they do play, they decide to move back home, they get married, they have a family, and they're our community members now. So do we want good, strong, moral people in our community? And who knows, maybe one day they want to coach at the club, or their kids are second gen at ETFC.
That's definitely more likely than
right?
going to college
Right.
to play.
And that's where my heart and head is at, because we're, like Matt talked about, we're building the community, but this is a long-term community. This is about the future of this organization in the community and for the community through those kiddos.
Well, and I can't thank you guys enough for what you've done with both of my kids. They enjoy it. You guys are phenomenal, and it's been great to have you on.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I would to summarize, we're building kids and community and accidentally making them good at soccer.
That's my favorite. That was awesome. I learned a whole lot about soccer.